less fortuna you want!
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Sack Reviews. First review of 2025 here. A little bit later than planned, but that's because I really wanted to make sure I could properly sink my teeth into this one, and at a minimum finish the main game. And after almost 100 hours, I can finally say that today we are looking at Come Deliverance II for the PC, PlayStation 5 and Xbox, with all footage here captured on PS5 in performance mode. From the developers at Warhorse Studios, this is the sequel to 2018's Come Deliverance, a game which had a bit of a rocky start when it first launched, but has grown a cult following over the years, with myself included in that. I wasn't there for the launch of KCD1 because of all the horror stories I heard about its terrible launch, but when I did pick it up a few years ago, I absolutely fell in love with it. Spoilers for the first game are coming up, but know that I won't be getting into any spoilers for the second game. All footage used will be from the opening hours of the game so as to avoid any potential story spoilers, and there's more than a few of them that you need to avoid, really. KCD2 picks up almost immediately after the first game left off, with Henry, Hans and their band of merry men riding off from Rattay to deliver a message to Otto von Burgo in hopes of forming a new alliance to get the rightful king on the throne, with Henry still seeking vengeance for the murder of his mother and stepfather, and also still craving the sword that they made together, so he can finally deliver it to his birth father, Sir Radzig, and get the closure that he needs. While on the way, trouble inevitably ensues much quicker than expected, so Henry and Sir Hans must find a way to complete their task and survive in this foreign land where their former deeds and titles are unknown and meaningless to everyone. Now, if you haven't played the first game and are interested in this one, just know that you'll be fine. Whenever there's an event that happened or a character you should know about from the first game, this game will always give you a brief breakdown on what you need to know in a way that's natural and organic to the story. But if you really want a solid breakdown of the first game, then Warhorse have got you covered. There's a full story recap on their YouTube channel that's about 10 minutes long, and I won't lie, I watched it myself before playing this to refresh my memory, and I'm really glad I did, because it's been a while since I did play that first game. Even having completed it several times now, I needed that refresher, as a lot happens in that game. But even without all of that, I felt the story was very easy to follow, and veterans of the first game will all tell you the same thing, that while the story is great and really well written, the world is what you're here for. Some of the side quests have got better writing and payoffs than most main quests in other games. The world is incredible, and being able to play in a medieval RPG that focuses on historical accuracy over everything else, with no magic, no dragons, no quick use healing items, the story is great, but it's the experience that's going to keep you playing. Speaking of which, this world is massive, and I mean like it's crazy huge. In a world that focuses so much on realism, Warhorse really have pulled out all the stops on this sequel. This is a true RPG through and through, where taking on more than one enemy at a time could mean death if you aren't paying full attention. Where brewing potions and crafting weapons aren't just combining items in your inventory, but an actual ritual that takes time and management to do properly, where you can't just whack on any old armour that you find because you need undergarments for armour. You can't just wear armour with nothing under it. You need to be prepared. You can't just sleep anywhere because it's against the law. If you get drunk before entering an important cutscene, Henry's gonna be drunk in the cutscene. NPCs will often comment on everything you do, and the world just really feels alive. I would happily play an open world Kingdom Come game with no story, no task, just drop me in this world and leave me to live out my ultimate medieval fantasies. The story here, for me, it's icing on the cake, but between horse races, combat tournaments, dice games and general medieval affairs, this game is everything you've been wanting if you've been craving for a true medieval RPG. And for the completionists out there, Warhorse have got you covered there as well. Whenever you meet a point of no return, the game will warn you, letting you know, hey, you're entering a vital part of the story and you're not going to be able to free roam for a while if you keep proceeding, and some quests won't even be available afterwards. It even goes as far as naming the quests so that you know what you still have to complete before you move forward. It's a really good quality of life bonus in the game, and when every choice you make genuinely has a huge difference and impact on the world, multiple playthroughs are going to be a given, but it's nice that Warhorse give you that little extra safety net. For veterans of the first game, the gameplay it's more or less the same, but it's a lot more refined, and for newcomers, the gameplay does take a hot minute to get used to, especially the combat. You need to remember going into this game that you're not playing Skyrim, you're not playing Dark Souls or a generic MMORPG. This is Kingdom Come, and in Kingdom Come, realism is the real king. In combat, you have a directional wheel which has been lowered from 5 directions to 4, and you strike and block your enemy based on what direction your weapon's aimed. It sounds a bit intimidating when you explain it, but it's a lot smoother and more responsive in this than it was the first game. It's still not perfect, and I still don't exactly love it, but in a world of aiming at your enemy and spamming the R1 button at the thing you want to die, there's something refreshing about a combat system that makes you think for it, makes you work for it, regardless of if you're going on against the whole army or just a simple 1v1. Even with ranged weapons, whether it's crossbows, archery, or the newly introduced pistols, there's no crosshair because, well, there's no crosshair in real life. If you want to get good with the bow, then you need to get good with the bow. You can't just use a health potion mid-battle, in fact you can't use anything mid-battle. When you're in a fight, you're in the fight. I can see why a lot of people don't like the gameplay in Kingdom Come, and as for myself, yeah, it's hard. It's hard not being able to just rely on blind attacks. It's hard having to manage stamina so precisely. It's hard knowing that if I don't eat enough food, I'll starve and begin to lose my vision, but at the same time, if I eat too much food, I'll get bloated and clumsy. But this is still Kingdom Come. This is exactly what the game has always been. And if that's not for you, that's fine. But you have to respect Warhorse for sticking to their guns and being more focused on realism than taking the easy way out and making it like every other game in existence. Both the graphics and the performance are a big step up from the first game, but there's still some problems. Well, like I said, I didn't play the original KCD until around 2021, so it had already had 3 years of patches and updates. There were still some noticeable problems here on launch, but from what I've seen and read online, the sequels had a much smoother launch than the original. Like I say, there's still some problems, and we'll get into that. In terms of cutscenes, yeah, noticeable jump. I didn't have any issue with any of the cinematics at all throughout my entire playthrough, all consistently running at a smooth frame rate while maintaining a gorgeous fidelity. I still don't think it's harnessing the full power of the PS5, but considering the sheer size of this game, it looks breathtaking. In terms of gameplay, again, while this is a noticeable improvement, I was still disappointed in some areas, like flowers. There's still essentially just 2 JPEGs in a cross-section. I encountered several glitches throughout the game that just kept on repeating themselves. Things like bridges just not spawning in, myself and NPCs getting stuck in the world, even quest vital NPCs just not spawning in when they need to. I even ended up getting soft locked out of certain quests due to glitches, causing me to reload older saves several times. I won't lie, it's far from perfect. And while I can understand this is a huge game, and getting every single quest and item and NPC to work perfectly in such a vast and open world, it's a task for any studio, let alone the one the size of Warhorse is. They're still just a small studio. You can't help but be annoyed when a game has been delayed several months for the sakes of ironing it out and making sure it releases in an appropriate state, only to still run into so many game-breaking problems throughout. But the real problem for me were the in-game cutscenes. Now, I don't have epilepsy, but maybe if you do, you should look away and skip to the timestamp below. For me, the in-game cutscenes, especially with the dialogue, the lighting was just broken throughout. For this entire 80 to 100 hours spent playing, from the opening area right up to the end, this is what I was constantly putting up with. And again, I don't have epilepsy, and I will always shame my friends for when they say things like, oh, the performance was so bad it hurt my eyes. But I mean, this gave me a headache. I had to skip several dialogue sections, and on one occasion even had to turn it off and take a break, it got so bad. Of all the problems that need fixing and addressing right away, this is number one for me. Now, back onto something much more positive. Sound design. This is some absolute S-tier stuff right here. Everything here has been thought of and executed meticulously. Depending on what type of armor you're wearing, or if you're wearing spurs or not, will determine the noise you're making as you go through the world or you jump. The type of weapon you're using versus the type of armor you're attacking, or vice versa, it will all make a difference in the sound played. The terrain your horse is going through, it all makes a difference. They've really thought of everything and covered all ground in that respect, and the performances from the cast all around are great, from the NPCs to the name characters, both old and new, but we really need to talk about the two leads here. Tom McKay as Henry of Skalitz and Luke Dale as Sir Hans Capon are truly stars here. They were both really good in the first game, but here in the sequel, it really feels like they've found their feet as these characters. Regardless of if you're making a Paragon or a Renegade decision, you truly believe Tom's intent with every line he delivers. And as for Luke, even when Hans is in the wrong and quite frankly being a dick throughout a lot of the game, you just can't help but think to yourself, he's just so charming he can get away with it. I honestly think Luke is a particular contender for best supporting role this year. I mean it when I say that I haven't been this sidestruck by a supporting character's performance since Neil Newbern as Astarion in Baldur's Gate 3. And I really don't make that comparison lightly. As for what's missing, I feel like I've covered everything that is missing in the performance section. This game still needs a fair bit of time to cook. There's still a lot of bugs, still a lot of glitches, and a lot of issues that need ironing out. Some of the enemy AI could do with a bit of tweaking, some of the quests need fixing, and that lighting in the cutscenes, man, that definitely needs addressing. But these are all things that will come in time. It's a shame they're not here on launch, but nothing's missing. If you want a realistic medieval RPG, then KCD2 is the game you have been waiting for. All in all, Kingdom Come Deliverance II, while problematic and buggy here at launch, is still everything a collective group of gamers has been waiting for. You will not find a more in-depth and immersive medieval RPG on the market today or for years and years to come. A friend of mine who was a fan of the first game asked me the other day how I was finding the game, and my exact words to him were, you can look at this sequel and consider the first game as just a tech demo. It's like Warhorse released that game as a way of saying, this is a proof of concept. This is the game that we want to make, but we don't have the money or resources right now. But several years later, they do, and they've finally released the game they always wanted to make. KCD2 is brutal, immersive, and while still buggy, a beautiful and fantastic time. This is the ultimate no-life game you can sink your teeth into for countless hours on end, and I plan on doing some more of that, just like I have been for the last 2 weeks, as soon as I'm done recording this review. And that's why I'm giving Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 a 4 out of 5. Have you played Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 yet? If you have, tell us what you thought of it in the comments below. And how do you roleplay your Henry? Are you a Knight of Honor or an alcoholic sex pest? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.